The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome to the Wyoming Women's Business Center's 2019 webinar series. Today's presentation is 10 tips for managing seasonal business. I'm Christine Langley. I'm a business counselor with the Wyoming Women's Business Center, and I'm going to be not only your speaker today, but also your moderator. So you're going to notice the GoToWebinar control panel on the right side of your screen. I want to call attention to both the questions panel and the chat panel today. If you have some questions or comments, please feel free to use those panels to communicate with me during the presentation. So for those of you that have been on our webinar series before, you'll know that this is being recorded and that it is going to be available on our YouTube channel for review or for new views. Just go to our youtube.com and type in the Wyoming Women's Business Center. Make sure you subscribe and check out our other webinars as well. You can also always visit our website at wyomingwomen.org or look for us on Facebook and Instagram. So immediately following this presentation, a survey is going to launch, and I ask you to complete the survey because it provides us, as well as our funding partners, with valuable information and feedback. Everybody that's on the call right now is muted to minimize the background noise. And so once again, if you have any questions or comments during the presentation, you can type them in that chat box or the questions panel, and I'll address that during the questions section. All right, so let's get started today. And I'm looking at who is attending, and it looks like we got a lot of women on the call today. Congratulations, all you female entrepreneurs. Thanks for being here. So today's agenda, I'm just going to quickly go over the Wyoming Women's Business Center so that you know who we are. We're going to jump right into our topic, which is the 10 tips for managing the seasonal business. And then we'll finish up with a short Q&A if anybody has any questions. All right, so as far as the WWBC is concerned, we are a nonprofit organization. We assist individuals who want to start or expand small businesses, specifically in the state of Wyoming. And we do this through 3 specific programs. So the first is our business training and counseling program, which is free to everyone. Second is access to capital through our microloan program and also our individual development accounts programs. And then lastly is our professional artist development center. So this webinar series is actually being brought to you from our microloan program. So if you'd like more information on microloans, which can range anywhere from $500 up to $50,000 to help you fund a business startup or even expand your existing business, then I would encourage you to contact Waldo Smith. He is our microlending director. All right, everybody, so we're going to jump right in. And what I'd like to do is I just want to start out by launching a poll because I want to get a sense of who is on the call today. And so I'm going to pick my first poll here and launch that for everyone. And what I'd like to know is, can you select the industry grouping that best describes your business? So I tried to come up with what I think is probably the most common businesses that I might have on the call today. The first is hospitality, entertainment, music, kind of anything in that realm. The second is, do you have a retail business or any kind of a service business? Are you in the healthcare field? Are you in the food industry or any kind of food business? And then lastly, the other. So if you could just let me know kind of who you are, who's on the call today, that helps me frame some of my conversation here. Okay, terrific. We've got almost 90% of the vote in. I'm going to give it a few more seconds. Okay, thanks everybody. So let's take a look. So it looks like 17% hospitality. We've got about a third in retail and 50% in others. So sorry about that. I guess I didn't do that great of a job picking my industry types, but it's hard when you only have 5 slots to choose from. All right, so I think most of what we're going to talk about today is going to pertain to everybody. So we will move on. All right, so our number 1 tip here is research what's expected in your industry. And hopefully you're doing this before you get into business. But if you're already in business and you haven't done it yet, then there's no time like the present. So research what's expected. Before you start out, you should have some idea of the expected income, and you should have done some research into the seasonal fluctuations of the industry or the business that you're going into. Most businesses are affected by seasonality in one way or another to a certain extent. So while other businesses really need to entirely scale back operations during certain times of the year. And so the most common businesses that come to mind that are truly seasonal are things like ski resorts or holiday rentals of some type, lawn care services or snow removal service. These are obvious seasonal businesses, but there typically is seasonality that is going to go through every business. And so the best thing to do is talk to other businesses in your sector, ask them how they've been impacted, what level of fluctuation can you expect, how do they cope with it, what are some of their ideas or things that they've done, and then carry out some preliminary online research or ask your sector's membership body or guild. So lots of times you'll have some kind of an industry association that you can join, and often they'll have numbers and information for you. Okay, tip number 2. You want to build what you've learned from your research specifically into your business model. So think about movie theaters for a minute. They don't shut down in quiet seasons like some other seasonal businesses, but what they do is they hire extra employees for their 2 busiest seasons, which is summer and winter. And they create their budgets to reflect that increased income or the decrease in income, right? Similar businesses like wedding planners or photographers, food businesses like caterers, they know that they're going to thrive in their summer months. And so they use their cash flow projections to accurately assign money in those quiet months so they have a realistic sense of how much money they're going to end up with at the end of the year. And so what tip number 2 really comes down to is actually developing and using a cash flow projection or model. And it's the most important tool that you can use really to manage your seasonality. And so a lot of my clients, they get stuck when they try to project their income. And then they just give up, right? They stop trying to complete the projection project. And so my message to you today is don't get stuck. Just ask for help and ask more questions, because that cash flow projection, is never going to be perfect. What it is an educated best guess. It's a living, breathing document that you can change and update as you gather more information, and you're going to get better at it each season you go through in your business, right? The more information and the more data you have, the better you're going to be at projecting what your cash flow is going to be going forward. And so your year 1 cash flow projection is not going to be as good as your year 2, and so on, right? You're going to get better at this. But don't throw the baby out with the bathwater and get frustrated because you had a cash flow projection for the month of September and you were completely off. It's okay. It's a learning experience. We'll regroup. We'll come up with, a plan in order to overcome that difficulty. All right, number 3. It's important to maximize your downtime in your business if you do have downtime. And so you want to catch up on business tasks that you can't do when you're busy. So sometimes those are things like taxes or planning taxes, planning your next newsletter, scheduling social media posts, drafting an email marketing campaign. So it's all ready to go when your bookings pick up, and you haven't got time to do it at that point. So if your business requires any kind of repairs or maintenance of equipment in the slow time is the time to do those projects. Some of these things might seem obvious, but often people are so exhausted, from the busy season that they just finished, that they have a hard time maximizing their downtime. And so I always recommend that, in the beginning of your downtime, that's a great time to kind of regroup and do some self-care. If you need to take a vacation, if you need to get a massage, you need to do whatever you need to do in order to take care of yourself so that then you can get back to work and maximize that downtime. So self-care is important in your downtime as well. All right, tip number 4. We want to save at busy times and cut costs during slow times. And again, this might seem somewhat obvious, right? But it's difficult to save money when you're in the process of heyday and making a ton of money, right? You feel good, revenue's coming in. You want to go buy the, new piece of equipment or treat yourself, to something over the weekend or, a vacation or whatever it might be, rather than thinking forward and saving up for January or February. But this is when your cash flow projection comes into play. So retail companies, for example, they know that November and December are usually when they make most of their profit. And with holidays, right, like Christmas, New Year's, Thanksgiving, Hanukkah, that kind of thing. And so typically retail businesses will save a substantial amount of money because they know that quieter months are going to follow. January and February in retail businesses, usually they see at least a 30% dip in sales. And so how you manage your cash flow is the key determinant of success and longevity in your business. And paying yourself each month really shouldn't be determined by whatever amount of money is left in your checking account after you pay the bills, right? It should actually be based on your cash flow projection and how you're measuring up against those plans and expectations. Because otherwise, you're just on this constant roller coaster of, well, I wonder how much I'm going to get paid this month, and am I going to be able to cover the bills, right? We want it to be a more even experience for you. But in order to do that, we got to save during the slow times so that we can maximize that cash flow or save during the high times so we can maximize the cash flow during the slow times. Another thing that you want to look at is what type of costs can you cut, if at all possible. So some people reduce staffing. Often that's the number one cost in your business. Other people find a way to reduce other costs. I've even known of businesses that move in and out of retail locations. They shut down entirely, during certain seasons and then come back. So you want to make it a point to regularly review your business plan and your financial statements before as well as after your busy season. And then think about what type of supplemental income generating activity you might be able to put in place during your slow periods. How will you minimize your monthly expenses during the lulls? So if you can start some financial, or set some financial goals at the start of the off season and measure your success afterward, then adjust and improve each year. So I want to launch a second poll here because I want to get a sense from everybody how often they're reviewing the profit and loss from their business. So your cash flow. Which poll am I on? That's funny. All right, let's start with the cash flow poll. This is a good one too. Do you have a cash flow projection document for your business? Yes, no, or sort of, I have a sense of what to expect. Sorry, guys, I got my polls out of order. All right, we've got about 60% of the vote in. I'm up to 70%. Give you a couple more seconds here. No judgment. We're just trying to get a sense of where you're at. Very good. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close this and let's share these results. All right, so about 40% of you have a cash flow projection document. Excellent. 20% say no, and about 40% say sort of. Okay, super normal responses. All of these are normal responses. I'd like you to get to yes as quickly as possible. And for those of you that don't know where to start, this is what we're here for. We're free help to business owners in Wyoming, so just call us. This is what we do. Okay. Number 5, watch what your competitors are doing. This is our 5th tip for the day. As in most aspects of business, we say keep your friends close and your enemies closer. You always want to know how your local competition is coping with the seasonality of their business as well. So get inspiration where you can get it and see if anything is applicable to your business. It's always a good idea to speak with other business owners in your industry. It doesn't necessarily have to be your direct competitor that's across the street, because that might be a difficult conversation to have, or they may not want to share information with you. But speaking with like business owners can be really valuable. And so you want to reach out to your industry associations for contacts or conferences that they might be having and build up some of those relationships. A lot of times they have the data and the numbers that you're looking for, like what kind of percentage dip, is going to happen in your business. I used to own an ice cream company in both Wyoming and Colorado. And we learned that being in a winter climate, we were going to see a reduction in sales of 65% in the wintertime. So we essentially had 6 months in order to make our hay with that business. And the other 6 months we had to pivot and do something different. And so I'll tell you that story in a bit. Okay, tip number 6, guys, get creative. So what the primary question here is, are there low cost solutions that you can implement to get more clients through your door during that slow time? Can you offer up some kind of post Christmas, gift promotion or mid-season discount to get people in the door? Lots of businesses do referral schemes like free appointments for customers who bring in 2 new friends. You can create a buzz on social media by asking existing customers to share your posts. This generates likes and followers, and you can advertise, in the next low period to those people, and they're more likely to convert than completely unrelated clients. You can also develop an event in order to, bring people through the door, or connect with a nonprofit and try to do some kind of a fundraiser to increase your own awareness. So this is just trying to come up with creative ideas in order to drive traffic, to your business. So number 7 is considering diversifying your income. So lots of businesses need to diversify and do just completely different things during low seasons. So an example that I want to give is a food truck business, right? This is the ice cream business that I had, was a food truck. And we know that food trucks generally expect to lose somewhere between 35 and 50% of their business during winter months. Well, in Wyoming and Colorado, we knew that that was 65%. And so one of the ideas was move to a catering or a pop-up indoor location in the winter as an option. Think about how you can use your space, your equipment in a new or different way that can generate income. Can you offer a service in a new way, like offering a mobile service when maybe normally you don't during busy season? So for our ice cream business, we actually took our equipment out of our truck because it was mobile, and we rolled it into concession stands in sports arenas during the winter season. And we operated in the UW arena, and we operated at CU Boulder in the Coors arena there. And we also operated in the Pepsi Center. On the club level of the Pepsi Center. So we divvied up our freezers and we scooped at these indoor athletic events all through the winter. I've also had a carpet cleaning company. And one of the things that we used to do during our slow period in the winter is we would offer area rug cleaning mobile service. And so we would run around and pick up all these area rugs and then take them back to our shop and clean them and then return them a couple days later. And so at $50 or $75 a pop, if we could pick up 50 area rugs, this ended up being a revenue boost for us during the slow periods of time. All right. So I'm going to launch another poll here and just ask you about that profit and loss statement that we mentioned a few minutes ago. So we talked about the cash flow statement. So your profit and loss statement is also known as your income statement. And there's 3 primary pieces of financial information that we look at to understand the health of your business. The first is your P&L statement or your income statement. The second is your balance sheet. And the third is your cash flow projection. So the 2 most important pieces of financial information you can review as a seasonal business, or if you experience a seasonality in your business, is your P&L and your cash flow statement. So we know that we've got about half the people on the call today that need to do some work on their cash flow statement. Now let's see where we're at on our P&L. So do you review it each month? Yes, no, or I review it quarterly, I review it annually during tax time, or no, but again, I have a general sense of where I'm at financially, kind of where everybody is at. All right, looks like all the votes are in. So I'm gonna go ahead and close that out. Let's share. So it looks like 33% are saying yes, they review it monthly. Bravo, keep it up. If you have questions on that, please ask. Don't hesitate to reach out to someone if your numbers are looking a little funny in one area or another. It looks like no one said no, so that's really good news because we want everybody at least looking at it. And then we have some people that are looking at it quarterly, some people annually, and then some are saying, I don't really, but I kind of know where I'm at. Again, I would encourage you to get to yes, especially if you're dealing with seasonality in your business. It can help you manage all kinds of expectations, not only for yourself and your business, but also with your employees. And it'll just help you make better decisions if you know exactly where you're at financially all the time. I make it a point to always review my financials before the 10th of the month. So I have a deadline on myself that I put on my calendar, and I say I'm going to look at my financials prior to the 10th. And then I have a meeting with my business partner, which is often my spouse, that happens on the 12th of each month, come hell or high water, where we review those financials and that information together. So remember to include the other people in your life that are important if they need to have this information as well, because it can help all kinds of communication with those relationships. All right, so speaking of expectations, I want to talk about tip number 8, which is managing your employees' expectations. So once you know that you have seasonal fluctuations, then it's really important to let your employees and your new hires know that as well. And that way you can manage expectations and encourage them to take a holiday or a vacation in the quieter times, of your business. So lots of businesses contract with students, for example, who are free in the summer to help out with busier times. And that's like a win-win for everyone. But that can't always be the case, right? Sometimes we need people to work more hours during certain times of the year, and then we need to scale back on their hours in order to save on payroll at other times of the year. And so if employees don't know that they can expect seasonal fluctuations in your business, then it's hard for them to swallow that pill when you hand them, their timesheet or the upcoming schedule that says they've only got 10 hours this week. And so I always feel like honesty is the best policy. Give employees a lot of warnings and be very transparent about where your business is financially, and schedule a time to discuss this kind of information with them one-on-one, because that always helps as well. All right, so let's talk about how transparent you are with your employees. And I just want to get a quick sense from everybody. How transparent are you regarding the seasonal fluctuations? 100%, your employees totally understand the financials of your business. A second option, they understand enough to not be surprised by fewer hours, or you don't tell them because they wouldn't take the job, right? If they knew that their hours were going to get cut in a couple months. Where are you guys at as far as transparency is concerned? I've got about half of the vote in, so I'm just going to give a few more seconds for people to answer. Very good, very good. All right, let's take a look. Looks like we're about 50-50 on 100% they understand, and 50% they understand enough to not be surprised by fewer hours. So, this is kind of a personal philosophy situation. As far as what you want to do, with employees, I personally feel like more transparency is better. But I think most people on the call today are in a good spot with that. So congratulations on managing the expectations of employees. All right, guys, tip number 9, create an event and content marketing calendar for your particular industry or for your particular business. So, each month has different awareness or national events that you can harness. For example, January is a good month for health club memberships and self-help books and programs. February is generally slow for a lot of businesses, or it's a slow month, but it does have Valentine's Day, which can trigger lots of, marketing ideas for seasonal businesses. So if you need help putting together a content marketing calendar, you can always reach out to us. But I've also done a webinar specifically on this topic. And so you can go to our YouTube channel under Wyoming Women's Business Center. And this is titled How to Develop Content for Online Marketing. And it's got a lot of great tips in there. All right, tip number 10, embrace the reality and manage your stress level. So seasonal fluctuation is just one of the many stress factors of running your own business. And I don't have to tell you guys the different stresses that come along with being a business owner. There's a lot of joys with it, but there's a lot of stress that you have to manage as well. And so just right out the gate, I want you to acknowledge that. Because just acknowledging your stress level around the seasonality of your business might help, instead of pretending that it's not happening. So it's something that most businesses deal with. It's why it's a topic for a webinar. Another question that you need to ask yourself is really, where is that stress coming from? And it might be obvious that it's coming from money. Money stress, of course, is the most common. But if it is money stress, then why are you stressing over the money? Is it because you truly aren't generating enough revenue, in your business in order to cover your base costs? Or is it because you're just really not managing your cash flow well? So answering that question can help you solve the problem. It could also be coming from employees wanting more hours because you failed to manage their expectations. Hopefully that's not the case with this group, but take a look under the hood and see where the stress is coming from, because sometimes that can help you start to solve the problem. And then think of other ways to manage your stress during the low periods. Again, I just want to mention the self-care, taking a well-deserved break during the quiet times, and trying to plan ahead as much as possible. All right, so we are to the questions section. If anybody has any questions, you can type them in the questions box or in the chat panel. I have a tendency to be thorough, so sometimes I don't get too many questions. No pressure there, but I'll give you guys a couple seconds to do that. And in the meantime, I just want to recognize our funding partners with the Wyoming Women's Business Center. The U.S. Small Business Administration is a great partner of ours, as is the Wyoming Women's Foundation and the Wyoming Business Council. And so we're thankful for their support. This is our contact information at WWBC, all of the business counselors that are on staff and available to you. If you have questions about this presentation or questions about your business, again, our counseling is always free, and I encourage you to reach out to us. So at the close of this webinar, a survey is going to launch immediately afterwards. And I'd really appreciate it if everybody just took a couple seconds. There's only 5 questions to answer in this survey. Okay, it looks like I've got one question from Kim. And she says, can employees who are hired seasonally be allowed to sign up for unemployment? So this is really a legal question. And, I hate to put my attorney hat on when I'm not an attorney, but it depends on the criteria of how they're hired. If they are officially hired as seasonal employees, and you'll have to, check with an employment attorney or with an HR specialist to know if there's certain guidelines that you have to meet in order to make that happen. Then I believe they wouldn't be eligible for, unemployment. But remember that unemployment is an insurance that you pay for. So it isn't as if you are paying the fee or the amount that the employee is getting if they do sign up for unemployment after they don't work for you. And they only receive unemployment if they're unemployed, right? And most people can't live off of unemployment. So again, it's an insurance, and a lot of people have to hit that insurance in order for your unemployment insurance rate to actually go up. So I usually coach my entrepreneurs to not worry so much, about employees filing for unemployment, because it isn't as if it's a bill that you're paying. You're not paying their income. It's simply an insurance rate that you pay through the state of Wyoming. So I hope that answered that question. All right, you're welcome, Kim. She says thank you. Okay, so thanks so much for joining us today. And if you have any additional questions or if you need further assistance, feel free to contact us. Again, our business counseling is always free. We're happy to assist you. So once again, please take some time to complete the survey. It's going to launch just in a few seconds. We read every survey, and your feedback is important to our program. So thanks everybody for joining us. Have a great week.